Hi, my name is Yuichi Hamada. My friends and family know me as a normal teenage student at Yokohama High School. But the truth is, I possess extraordinary powers. Ever since I was a kid, I had this habit of disappearing into other worlds, fantastical and magical. There, I could be whoever I wanted to be, the hero of my own story. These episodes were particularly active during my childhood, but no more so than my parents' frequent fights.
He needs more discipline. His teachers say he's always zoning off in class.
He's got an active imagination. Not every kid is a good student. It doesn't mean he's defiant.
We didn't raise him to be lazy and uneducated. You're too easy on him.
Eventually, Dad would leave the house in a rage. I always felt like it was my fault, but at least I had another world to escape to. And when I'd return, I'd tell my friends all about my heroic adventures.
I buried the demonic wolves in the snow, one by one, sending them into the icy dimension. And finally...
Finally what? You realized you were a crazy person who lives in a delusional fantasy world?
The other bullies started chuckling. They were making fun of me. But my friends loved hearing my stories, especially my childhood friend, Jingsha. She would be glued to every word I said. Despite her support, the bullies just kept getting worse.
Earth to Yuichi! Snap out of it!
The other bullies were laughing at me again, and everyone was staring.
Time to grow up and stop playing pretend, nerd!
I was so embarrassed. I felt terrible.
Tell me a story. That'll cheer you up.
I'm not in the mood. I don't know, maybe it's time for me to grow up. I saw Jinsha's disappointment, but I couldn't handle the judgment and bullying anymore. Sometimes I would secretly hide my ability and adventures because I was afraid how other kids would react to my crazy stories. And then everything fell apart when my dad left us and my mom got sick. A few months later, Mom slipped into a coma, and the power I once had to escape reality felt like a distant memory of childhood. Dad came back to me, not because he loved me, but because he pitied me. We couldn't afford to keep paying the mortgage, so he sold our house. As a result, I had to move into his tiny apartment. When I saw the state of it, I was shocked. Dad was always on my case to improve my grades and be successful. But here he was, living in filth. Dishes were piled up in the sink, dirty clothes lay all over the floor, and the fridge was stocked with nothing but TV dinners. A few years had passed, and I was now in high school. I had also started working at a convenience store, where my manager was always breathing down my neck.
The candy bars are all out of order. There's dirt on the floor in aisle 3.
Jinsha could tell I was feeling especially down lately, so after work, she showed me something to cheer me up.
It's called Honkai Star Rail. It's a single-player strategy and turn-based game where you can travel across different worlds through the Astral Express to seal the evil Stellarons threatening the galaxy.
She showed me the gameplay, and it honestly reminded me of the fantasy worlds I used to travel to.
I know you've been feeling down lately, but now when you're sad, you can just dive into the game and transport yourself to another universe.
Well, I had nothing else to do in my free time, so I gave it a shot, and I was immediately hooked. One day at the convenience store, I was terrified to see the bullies from school perusing the aisles. When my manager caught them stealing, he told me to go after them and stop them, just as I was getting into another Trailblaze level in Honkai Star Rail. I tucked my phone away and chased them out the door and down the alleyway.
Hey, stop running!
They stopped running and turned around.
Wait, I recognize that voice. You're the geek who can't grow up.
Give me back what you stole, and no one gets in trouble.
Ha! Or what?
Before I could make a move, one of them pushed me, and I fell to the ground as they stood around me, cackling. Suddenly, Jinsha turned up.
Stop hurting him! I've got it on camera, and I'm gonna post it online if you don't stop.
This got their attention. I was so worried as they started to gang up on her. But then, the three of them immediately backed off when a patrol guard showed up.
We're not done with the two of you.
I sat on the ground with my face swollen.
Yuichi, are you okay?
Jinsha tried to help me get up, but I pushed her hands away. You shouldn't have come after me, and now you're gonna be in trouble.
I'm sorry. I was just trying to help.
I don't need your help. I immediately stood up and ran away, blaming myself for being weak and putting her in danger. I took the train and gazed out the window. As I settled in my thoughts, I decided to play Honkai Star Rail on my phone. I noticed that I had only one golden ticket left in my account. I pulled on a character banner without much hope of winning a 5-star character. But in that moment, I allowed myself to wish for something more. Suddenly, the train began to rumble, and a strong golden light began to emanate through the train car. Then I guess I must have passed out.
Weren't there coordinates sent out from the space station?
Who cares? They're here and alive. Do they look like a mannequin to you?
Weak heartbeat and pulse. March, you better do CPR.
Huh? I've never done it before. Denheng, you do it. Wait, stop it. He's awake. Are you all right? Can you hear me? Do you remember your name?
I couldn't believe it. Suddenly, it all came into focus. Dan Heng, the archivist of the Astral Express from Honkai Star Rail, in front of me. And the girl next to him was March 7th, the enthusiastic amnesiac who was saved by the Astral Express crew. Is this some sort of cosplay event? Or a prank? Wait, what station is this? Where am I?
What are you talking about? We're in Herda's space station, and this is not a very good time to be idle. The Antimatter Legion is laying siege on the station as we speak. We must go.
I looked around, and nothing seemed to be making any sense. I grabbed my phone and saw my reflection in the screen, but I didn't look like myself. I looked exactly like Kalis, the Trailblazer. It suddenly occurred to me that I was in a completely different universe. I was inside of Honkai Star Rail. While I was zoning out, March asked me a question.
So, what's your name?
I am... Suddenly, instead of feeling anxious, I felt a rush of excitement as I remembered all the difficult moments that I had in my life. And I had the opportunity to escape those right now. Yes, I am Kalis! Back home, Jingsha was starting to get worried about my whereabouts. Finally, she visited my house, and my dad answered.
Is Yuichi here? I haven't heard from him in days. A patrol guard from the station contacted me and informed me that he found his phone in a train carriage.
What? I just thought he was staying with you. He never answers me when I call anyway. May I see that?
Jingsha handed my phone over to my dad. He began scrolling through it.
What are you doing?
I'm checking his text messages to see if there are any clues to his whereabouts.
Jingsha looked concerned. She knew what was in those texts. My dad looked devastated.
I'm not going home tonight. My dad's place is disgusting. He barely gets off the couch and the apartment smells like trash. Plus, I don't think he's showered in days.
He sadly handed the phone back to Jingsha.
Seems like he was miserable here. Maybe he ran away.
I don't think he would run away. He wouldn't want to worry you.
Jingsha tried to give the phone to my father, but he refused.
Keep it. I don't need a useless son.
Jingsha took my phone with her back home, looking at the last application I used before I disappeared. She saw Honkai Star Rail. Along with March and Dan Heng, we managed to defeat the Void Rangers of Antimatter Legion. However, they kept coming without any end in sight. Suddenly, Himeko appeared and saved us. As we proceeded further, we reached the supply zone where the dreaded Doomsday Beast was waiting for us. I recalled all my hours of gameplay and put my skills to use. Dan Heng and Himeko used their ultimates, Ethereal Dream and Heavenly Flare, to destroy the antimatter engine and its hands, which gave me the perfect timing to strike the beast in its most vulnerable state. We took the Astral Express to Gerillo 6 to face off against Cocolia. Unfortunately, I was frozen by Cocolia during the battle. But thankfully, Natasha was able to heal me and cleanse the debuff. With the help of Serval and Hook, we were able to defeat Cocolia and free Belobog from eternal freeze. Our next destination was Zhangzhou Lefu. When we arrived, Zhangzhou was already under attack, perpetrated by Lord Ravager Fantilia, who sought the destruction of Zhangzhou. Things got rough when Fantilia used her havoc during the battle. Our best fighter was injured and fell down. Luckily, Beilu, a skilled healer from Zhangzhou, was able to use her talent, Gore Duel of Elixir, to revive our fallen comrade. With our team back on track and Dan Heng in his powerful Imbibitor Lunae form, He rode his dragon alongside Jin Yuan's Lightning Lord and Hainya, who provided valuable support. Thanks to our combined efforts, we were able to turn the tide of the battle and emerge victorious. It felt incredible to finally be a hero in my own story. But as we progressed, I was losing touch with my former reality. After defeating Phantilia, the crew of the Astral Express returned to their cabin and rested. Later, I had a dream where I found myself in a small, dark room. As I looked around, I noticed a girl sleeping at a desk next to a phone, which had the HSR game open on it. She looks familiar. Then she spoke my name.
Yuichi.
Her voice floated away as she said, Yuichi. And suddenly, it all came flooding back to me. I was Yuichi, an average high school student in Yokohama High. Has she been by my side all this time? I held her hands, and suddenly, Jingsha felt my presence, waking up from her sleep.
Yuichi!
She looked around and saw nobody. The next day, I gathered the team together and came clean. Everyone, I'm not who you think I am. I am not of this world, nor do I believe this world is real at all. I'm Yuichi, just an ordinary guy with terrible luck in life. I have this ability to disappear into worlds I've imagined, and I just pretended to be one of you. But it wasn't my intention.
You are you, Yuichi or Kalis. Your adventure with us, your heroic deeds, it was all real. You'll just have to discover it in yourself.
What are you trying to tell me, General?
Listen, Yuichi. Life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced. In time, you'll understand. But for now, you must find a way to get back to your world.
Do I really need to?
Didn't you call us here because you want to go back?
I realized now what I must do to return to the reality where I came from. Everyone, before I go, I want to have our one last adventure.
We're ready when you are. Lead the way, my friend.
All right, Yuichi, let's go!
Our next stop, the Penacony.
Back at home, Jingsha was navigating through Penacony, the land of festivities, not realizing that I was actually a part of the game, and I wanted to keep it that way for a while. From there, we wandered through the dreamscape, which was a fun experience, solving the dream ticker, riding the bubble pinball, and becoming a Hanin. But as we progressed, we found ourselves dealing with Sam, a member of the Stellaron Hunters. Sam seriously gave us a hard time because of his skill, DHGDR, Supernova Overload. Welt immediately used his synthetic black hole to hold Sam for another turn, while Himeko and Dan Hang poured all their efforts to give me the opening I needed.
Rules are made to be broken!
I put all my strength into my ultimate skill, Stardust Ace.
You got to say you're welcome!
After the Sam boss fight, Jingsha received a character message. She was shocked at how the game messages were actually interacting with her, telling her about my adventure in the game. And the last message left her in disbelief.
Yuichi is waiting for you at the station.
At first, she was skeptical, but then it all started to make sense. She knew I used to disappear often during our childhood and would return with a bunch of stories. One time, she witnessed me transporting, but she always thought it was just a dream.
The station, the train, where his phone was found.
Jingsha rushed over to the site of where this all began, and I knew I needed to meet her halfway. When Jingsha arrived on the train, she started looking all over for me.
Yuichi, where are you? I'm here.
The train was eerily quiet when suddenly it rumbled and a strong golden light emanated. And then we saw each other in what seemed like a dream state. Jingsha, you're here! I can see you! Jingsha walked up to me and then slapped me hard.
Why? Why did you leave me?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to, but it was all too much for me and...
You idiot! Life is full of sad moments just as it is full of happy ones. You can't just give up every time something bad happens. It wasn't fair, at least for me.
I saw Jingsha crying as I reached for her hands in the light. Seeing her like that, seeing how much I meant to her, I knew she was right. I couldn't abandon her. I leaned in and kissed her. A bright light enveloped us both and drew us together. We were back on the train where it all began. Jingsha woke up, but I was unconscious.
Yuichi, wake up! Help! Everyone!
I had fallen into a coma, probably due to the stress my ability had put on my brain and body. Later, in the hospital, Jingsha was leaving to go home when Dad entered my room with a really worried face. He rushed up to me and started apologizing for everything.
I read your texts. At first, I was angry, but now I'm so relieved to have you back. I'm so sorry for not being there for you in your hardest times. I've cleaned the apartment and even bought fresh food. It's ready for you, and I'm ready for us to make a fresh start. I love you, son.
Jingsha smiled as she closed the door behind her. A few months had passed, and Jingsha had returned to school. One day, Dad was coming to see me with fresh clothes, but when he reached my door, he dropped everything to the floor.
Yuichi?
I looked at my dad and smiled, like everything was gonna be okay. When Jingsha was walking down the alley, she coincidentally encountered the 3 bullies who immediately cornered her.
You're that geek's friend, right? We said we weren't finished with you. Where's your little buddy?
I'm not afraid of you.
For a brief moment, they were frightened by her unwavering gaze. The leader of the bullies immediately raised his hands to strike Jingsha when a hand suddenly caught his arm.
What the?
Yuichi?
Go now, before I wipe the floor with your faces. They smirked slyly, ready to fight, and I braced myself, prepared for battle. As the bullies charged at me, I chopped the first one in the throat. Then I swing-kicked the other one in the face. And finally, it was down to the head honcho. We engaged in hand-to-hand combat, and I didn't suffer a single blow. Before Jingsha could blink, all 3 bullies were on the ground, cowering.
Where on earth did that come from?
Not Earth, Honkai Star Rail. Luca taught me how to fight, the renowned boxing champion of the Bellabog underworld. Guess I still have it in me.
I have so many questions.
And I'll answer them right after I leaned in and kissed Jingsha. Finally, I didn't want to be anywhere other than exactly where I was.
Promise you'll never leave again?
Promise I won't. I have everything I need right here.